In the know, nonstop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
3 teams have been 15-1 in the history of the National Football League. All right? Give yourselves a round of applause.
Yeah, that's right. Mathematically not possible anymore because there are more than 16 games, but the Vikings are still on track if they win out to match that 98 record that Denny Green's talking about. This is Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. Phil Mackey, Judd Zulgad, and Declan Goff, our executive producer. We're going to get into where the Vikings rank. Judd guesses the PFF grades and a couple other things. Let's start the show off here. This news came down. It started trickling out yesterday, sort of unconfirmed, and then this morning, Tom Pelissero confirmed it from NFL Network that Mike Zimmer's son and former Vikings linebackers coach and co-defensive coordinator Adam Zimmer has passed away suddenly at the age of 38. His sister had a long post on Instagram about it. No details about how he died yet. He was sort of a consultant assistant for the Bengals this year. But just really sad news. And I guess all I can think about here is just Mike Zimmer's last 15 years or so with his wife dying young, his son now passing away, the way that things ended with his Vikings coaching tenure. Just thoughts go out to the Zimmer family today.
Yeah, absolutely. And just brutal, too. I mean, I think your spouse dying is definitely tragic and terrible. I'm not a dad, but I can't imagine your child dying. I think it's probably awful at any age for if your kid passes away. But I mean, a 38-year-old young man, that's just absolutely awful. So, yeah, football aside completely, I think we all feel terrible now. And I mean, poor family from Mike's standpoint to the sister standpoint. I mean, the whole thing's just terrible.
Yeah. I hope that Mike Zimmer has some support around him. And, it's been a tough year for him just in general, professionally. And now this, which is exponentially worse. Yeah. So waiting for more details, but that's what we know as of the recording of today's Purple Daily. Adam Zimmer, dead at the age of 38. This show is presented by our friends at TCL, one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands. They have a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. We are looking forward to, in just a few days, this Sunday, taking the show on the road, so to speak, Vikings Vent Line and a Vikings watch party with our friends at Surly at First Round inside Mall of America, Judd. This should be fun.
That's exactly right. In fact, here we go. First round, I've got a mug right here, a glass right here. This folks, great sports bar. And yes, we're going to get together on Sunday. We will be there, of course, before the game. And then for the entire game, Phil included, we will cheers many Surly beers, including the Before I Die. And you know what? The Vikings are 6-1. So they're trending right. And as Phil said, first round, Mall of America, first floor, right inside Nickelodeon Universe. It's 2 floors. There is plenty of space. It's a really cool sports bar, tons of TVs. And then, of course, post-game, we will fire up Vent Line. We'll have a mic there for folks to jump on as well. All in all, it will be a fun day. It will be a warm day inside MOA, very convenient Sunday. Washington Vikings watch party, sponsored by our friends at Surly.
Let's get it. So, all right, boys, let's get into the show here today. There's been a few times in Vikings history where they've started hot. You're kind of wondering, is this for real? Oh, look at this. 2003. Look at this team. Rising up from a couple dormant seasons, right? Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss, 6-0 to start the season, and then the wheels start coming off. Second half of the year, they actually wind up missing the playoffs. That was 2003. Then the 2016 team, where they start 5-0. Sam Bradford having a great stretch for a month and a half. And eventually the wheels came off that team as well. They missed the playoffs well. So there's been other times where they start hot and they just continue, like 2017, although they lost a couple games early, and then they just like got hot end of September and continued to stay hot. 98, we all know. Mm-hmm. I guess my question to you guys is, how do we know that this team is different, or maybe we don't, than the 2003 team that started hot and fizzled and the 2016 team that started hot and fizzled? What is your level of comparison or not to those teams?
I don't think they're comparable because of this. In both 2003, I was covering the Packers back then, so I did not cover that season, but I did cover the 2016 season. But I know for a fact in both cases, there was an instability about the Vikings. And so this goes beyond like statistics or how guys are playing. If you recall, the Vikings were 6-0 in 2003. In fact, they beat the Broncos at the Metrodome in the game in which Moss and Moe made that incredible play where Moss tossed the ball backwards to Moe and he scored a touchdown. The next week they lose at the Metrodome, which was at the start of the Broncos game, a 3-game homestand. They lose to the Giants. If you remember, so they're 6-1. Red McCombs goes to the locker room post game after the Giants loss and basically calls out the entire team. He lambasts them. The Pioneer Press had a whole story on how Red absolutely lost his bleep. That's a momentum-changing thing. That was a Ticey team. Ticey teams, and this is going to be the key word here, gentlemen, volatile. They were volatile teams. Yeah. And so for an owner to melt down at 6-1, I'm not saying that is the entire reason why they fell apart, but it sure as hell got the snowball going. 2016, 5-0, bye week. Things are going great. They've just traded for, Sam Bradford? And if you recall, they go to Philadelphia. They get beat there. Okay, you're 5-1, no problem. Zimmer goes to the podium and calls his offensive line soft, basically melts down. That also is, and we still don't know the entire story, but that's also the one where they went into the bye and Zim tried to convey that fat cats get slaughtered. Again, volatility. They had volatility there.
Do fat cats get slaughtered? I feel like it's pigs. It's fat. It's hogs. They
use
cats. Don't get slaughtered.
I don't know, dude. They use
but the stuffed animal.
The
cats,
stuffed animals, yeah. But he also put signs up, I think, that said, if I'm not mistaken, that said fat cats get slaughtered.
I don't like
just
cats,
wrong, by the way.
But I would never slaughter a cat, nor am I pro slaughtering a cat.
Well,
that's weird.
If you guys recall, they originally thought that Zim then mutilated the stuffed toys and put blood on them, but then it turned out it was probably somebody else who did it.
And this was all after one loss, right?
Correct. Well, no, this was before the loss, and then the loss was my offensive line is soft, and all hell breaks loose, and everybody melts down.
Talk about overthinking it, right? You're going to lose some games. Just chill out, man. It's okay.
So, very important difference between Ticey in 03 and Red, Zim in 16, and now. Kevin O'Connell might do a lot of things. He might melt down play calling wise. He might screw up as a coach. He ain't melting down, and he's not going to basically create an environment of, oh my God, this guy, what's going on here? So,
but do we know that? And I am as pro Kevin O'Connell as possible. I think they nailed the hire, but do we know that?
Yes, he might get. I think behind the scenes, he's very much a coach. He's a control freak. I think he's a very decent guy, but I've been told behind the scenes he is wound way tighter than what we see. But he is not going to threaten the environment. I think that's the best term. He's not going to threaten the environment on which the players have their footing. He's smarter than that, and he is definitely not that volatile. So yes, the other thing that I like is there are some tougher games. Buffalo for sure, Giants now probably, but this schedule still strikes me as being really favorable as well, and the Vikings thus far have done a good job of, not by a lot, but beating teams that they should beat. So I feel overall stability is the biggest difference between this team and those teams.
Yeah,
I think you can marry the two together a little bit. I think recently going with the 2016 team, that one probably from a 30,000-foot view looks a lot closer to this team than the 2003 team. The 2003 team had Dante, Randy Moss. You had better playmakers, I think, and just top talent there. But that 2016 team, right, was all about depth, and Sam Bradford comes in here, who's a good but not great quarterback. I think when I look at 2016, when what really just spiraled all things down outside of Judd's coaching note, there was that offensive line just started dropping like flies. They had to bring Jake Long off the street. They had to have TJ Clemmings basically wave a white flag and say, "I'm playing tackle and please don't hurt me." Basically, situation.
They had that loser Alex Boone playing guard too.
That dude, bro,
Guy.
that was just the worst. The Rhino is what they call him. I think injuries completely derailed 2016. And then in 2003, and I was 11, 12 years old, but obviously that's the Nate Poole year. I remember that year. I remember the Broncos game too. And if I even remember correctly, Judd, I think the week before, didn't they play a Kansas City Chiefs team led by like Trent Green, who was like 14-1, and they were coming into the dome and they're going to kick the Vikings' butt, and then the Vikings end up actually like shocking them and kicking their ass at home. So it was a weird season, but I understand the vibes because this is where both those teams around this time started to spiral out of control. But I'm with Judd. I think Kevin O'Connell's kind of this X factor that's different from Tice and obviously Zimmer too.
Yeah, it's seasons like 2003 and 2016 that I think prevent some fans from being able to fully lean into all of this because, oh man, you're kind of protected. The Vikings for decades have made it so that you feel like you have to protect yourself and shield yourself from the inevitable. But I'm not ready to just sit here and say that, oh man, Kevin O'Connell is going to have every single answer in his first year at head coach. But I do agree. It feels like he's not going to do anything stupid to upset chemistry or throw a wrench into players' confidence, or he's not going to do anything rash, I guess.
Correct.
That's what he's very measured and level-headed. And also, I know the offense hasn't fully clicked yet, but we've seen some things offensively, just really high-level stuff, laying groundwork for, we're going to run this play in week 1 or week 2, and then we're going to run this variation of a similar look in week 3, week 4. Like, it's almost like he's playing a season-long offensive chess match here. Mm-hmm. And there's different things he can still unlock later on in the season. It felt in 2003 and 2016, it felt like they played all their cards in the first 6 weeks or the first 2 months. And then opposing teams got a bunch of film and adjusted, and they didn't have like a counterpunch. They just lost games the same way week after week after week. Leaky defense in 2003 that could not be saved. 2016 was a leaky offensive line that this offensive line is better than that offensive line, and this defense is better than that defense. Now, I would probably take the 2003 offense with, like Declan said, peak Randy Moss and getting close to peak Dante Culpepper. But it feels like the Vikings have more cards to play and more room to grow as the season progresses here than the 2003 and 2016 teams did.
There are things, though, to be clear. I don't think that the 2022 Vikings are going to fall victim to the same type of problems that 2003 did and 16, unless guys do get hurt. There are things that scare me here. I mean, Greg Joseph is starting to really frighten me. So, like, the PTSD still does exist. I guess I just don't think that O'Connell's going to melt down and lose the team. And I think to a large degree what Red did in 03 had a lot of guys saying, screw you. And I think in 16, because Mike got more uptight. That's the thing, too, is like, I am so curious to see on O'Connell, and it's a small thing, but to me it's important. Phil, every Vikings coach that we covered together, and then after that with Zim as well, one of the most interesting weeks to me was whenever the Patriots were on your schedule. Childress used to get unbelievable. He changed. The week of Belichick games, he would get so uptight, and Zimmer sort of did the same. O'Connell played for Bill. I don't think he's going to get uptight, but I mean, I always felt that the Vikings went into the Patriots games down like 7 points because they were so tight.
And in fairness, most teams did during those years against the Patriots. But yeah, I agree with that. KOC just seems like I said, very level-headed, very chill, and I agree that he seems more wound up behind the scenes, but not in an unproductive way. Yeah, he seems on top of things, I guess. You want to call it wound up? Maybe you call it hyper attention to detail.
Yep.
But I don't view it as a bad thing necessarily. So let us know what you guys think in the YouTube comment section too. Do you have some scar tissue left over from some of the hot starts that went awry in 2003, 2016? We'd love to hear from you. Maybe we can incorporate some of those thoughts on Feedback Friday later on this week, too. I want to sprinkle this in because it came across just while we were having that discussion. The Vikings did send a statement out. The ownership sent a statement out about the passing of Adam Zimmer. We are heartbroken to hear about the passing of Adam Zimmer. Adam was a kind, respectful man, and over his years in Minnesota, it was evident he cared tremendously about his family, his players, his fellow coaches, and the Vikings front office staff. Our thoughts are with Mike, Corey, Marky, and the entire Zimmer family. So that's from the Wilf family there. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you guys on Royce, and we don't have to belabor this too much, but it really still rubs me the wrong way, the way that Mike Zimmer was sort of treated and talked about. Now, you could argue, maybe treated players and people poorly the last couple of years as well, and there was a reason why he was ushered out the door. I wish that there would have been a little bit more respect for the first 5 or 6 years and the body of work that he put in as Vikings coach. He's one of the most successful coaches outside of Bud Grant in Vikings history, and it felt like he was just dismissed as a cancer. And now we sit here and it's like, oh, wow, like the last things that people were saying about Zimmer were pretty bad to very bad. And now it's like we're going to put our arms around him. And it's like I don't know, man. He deserved to take a seat for a while professionally. But I've never been in love with the way that a lot of fans and even like some of the stuff that's trickled out from the team, I've never been in love with the way that he's been talked about. So I just wanted to say that, I guess.
I don't disagree, but like you do have to separate the person from the coach. So I agree with your point, but not because like people now as humans feel terrible, and they should. Where I agree with your point more so is on the fact that we embraced I'm going to change things. And we love the fact for 4 or 5 years, he's a hard ass. This is great. He's really got the players in line.
It worked very well.
And it worked very well. And I'm going to go back. You know what? Denny Green ran into the same problem. Denny came in and said, I'm the new sheriff in town. And in the first 3 years or 2 years, Denny was I think it was 3 years, was loved here. It's like, Denny Green, this is great. But then when the axe starts to grow old, and it's the old shelf life thing, right? Fans start to turn, and then and players turn as well. And so I guess where I'm with you on Mike the coach is, we found it very convenient to turn after he did a lot of good things. And the conversation that we definitely had on the show, but I don't think it's been shared by places outside us, was this as well. Mike Zimmer's tenure with this team had 2 periods. Pre-Kirk, after Kirk. Like, there's no question about it. Pre-Kirk was a very successful coach. After Kirk didn't work, and there is no question that Mike Zimmer has borne the brunt of that not working.
Yeah.
And just too from a human side and whatnot, even from Mike Zimmer's point of view, and having to now deal with this, and as someone, all of us on the show have unfortunately lost parents, even me at a younger age. And I remember when I lost my dad at 15, which is like obviously a very awkward age because you're in high school and you're going through teenage emotions and stuff like that. I never forgot the people that like now all of a sudden adopted me as like one of their friends just because that happened to me. And I just remember kind of like thinking like, I appreciated the sympathy, of course. Like, I'm not trying to crap on the sympathy of that, but just from the human nature of, is this now the reason why maybe you want to talk to me, or maybe you think I'm not a weird dude or something? Like, I just remember, I don't forget that part. And it's always really stuck with me. And I wonder, just from Mike Zimmer's point of view too, of now that this has happened, I'm guessing he still has the same type of mantra of, or at least I'm assuming he does, of, I didn't really forget how I exited there either. I appreciate all the good things you're doing and all the good things you're saying to me, but I also know that he's probably remembering this isn't just obviously absorb all the wounds that how I exited your team.
Yeah. I hope he has a support system around him, and this is just a really, really tough thing to add to some other tough things that have happened in his life the last 10, 15 years. So thoughts with Mike Zimmer and the Zimmer family for this tragedy, and obviously I'm sure there'll be more information that comes out at some point, but let's keep going here on the show, Purple Daily Vikings Entertainment. Every single week, we put together our Pigskin pecking order, which, to this point, the top 10 teams in the NFL have included the Vikings every single week. And so, boys, we have put all of our rankings into a system, beep, burp, 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 and it spits out where we have collectively the top 10 teams in the NFL here. This is according to the Purple Daily CEO, that would be me, the CBO, the clickbait officer, Declan, and the CBDO, the Chief Beverage Distribution Officer, that would be Judd Zulgat.
Thank you.
All right. And now for the drama. Right. The number one team in the NFL is the Buffalo Bills. Now, you guys both had the Bills number one. I actually have, well, you know what? I might have bumped I don't have it open. I think I might have bumped the Chiefs finally, but I've been hanging on to the Chiefs number one for a few weeks. But collectively, we have the Bills number one.
Okay.
The Chiefs number two, the Eagles number three, and the Vikings as the number four team in the NFL for, I think, the third consecutive week. Mm-hmm. Put a pin in that. We'll circle back to that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Number five, the Dallas Cowboys. So if this all holds here, the Vikings are going to have 2 games in the next month against 2 top 5 teams, according to us in the NFL. Bills and Cowboys coming up. Number 6, the Baltimore Ravens. Yep. Even the losses have been close losses.
Yep.
Number 7, the Miami Dolphins. When they have Tua, they're really almost good. Unstoppable offensively. Number 8, the New York Giants. Punished a little bit for losing to the Seahawks. Number 9, the San Francisco 49ers jumping back into the 10. And then making their first appearance of the season here.
Yep.
Largely because Judd had them 8th, breaking a tie. The Seattle Seahawks.
Yep.
So Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, Vikings, Cowboys, Ravens, Dolphins, Giants, Niners, Seahawks. All of us had the Vikings 4th. So what do you make of this?
I make of this that I think the Vikings, and we can haggle about the closeness of the games or how the games look from the eye test. But what I make of this is, I believe this is the 3rd consecutive week that I also have the Vikings at 4. But this is the most confident I have been, or it might be the 2nd for me. This is the most confident I have been in writing that team's name at 4. Like last week, I was like, what should I do here? You know, yeah. I mean, it still feels close. But the reality is this. They continue to win, 5 consecutive wins. I think we could go through every team aside from Buffalo, KC, and perhaps Philly and say, man, I mean, are they that good? Are they not that good? But this was the first time in doing this that I thought, you know what? No, the Vikings are a solid 4 here. And it also helped me to separate them from the Giants a bit because the Giants finally did lose. So I was very confident in putting Kevin O'Connell's team 4th, and I cannot wait for the Buffalo game.
Seems like 2 other outlets. I saw the Ringer this morning, I believe, had them 5th. ESPN has them 5th. People are now starting to buy the Vikings stock a little bit and realize, hey, the 6-1 start, although maybe not sustainable because of 5 of them being 1-possession games, there's things in here that are showing that they're legit and they deserve credit for being 6-1. So I think among the NFC teams, I still put them right behind Philadelphia. I would take them over the Cowboys. I would take them over the Niners. I would take them over the Giants. But I'm really curious how they play against the Bills here in a couple weeks. That's really going to be, I think, the marquee game of the season.
The Cowboys are the hard one to quantify here, but at the end of the day, they won a bunch of games with the backup quarterback. Their defense has locked in more this season, and they just hung a bunch of points too last week. So I wouldn't fight someone who wanted to put the Cowboys above the Vikings, but that will be settled in part on the field soon enough. There's still an element of, the Vikings keep winning these close games. It would be nice for them to validate their standing if they would just create some separation and win a game by 20. But I also don't think they have to apologize for winning close games. And it's not like, the Cardinals are not a pushover team. That's a competitive team with a good quarterback. They're just a little bit dysfunctional, probably have the wrong coach. But I look at these and I think, boy, there's one top tier, Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, and then there's a significant drop-off until you get to whoever you would rank 4th. For many people, I think it would be the Cowboys, but I don't know how low you could put the Vikings with a clear conscience. The Vikings, we're probably putting the Vikings 4th in part because we watch them every week. It's Purple Daily. It's a Viking show. But I don't know that you could, with a clear conscience, put the Giants above the Vikings, or like this Niners team. It's funny because I think, again, if the Vikings played the Niners, I don't know that I would favor the Vikings in that game, but I don't know that you can rank them above the Vikings right now. Seahawks. So there's just not that many top teams through the first 2 months of the season. That's probably more the reason why the Vikings are fourth than them being this dominant force, but they're still half the way to play out here.
And I think the only two teams on this list that actually scare me are the Bills and Chiefs. I've gained respect for Philly, but I don't know that they scare me. And I still find it to be intriguing that in the week 2 loss that the Vikings had there, that the Eagles continue to open the door. And I would be curious now, with the Vikings being a little bit more established in what they're doing, I'd love to see that second half replayed now, just for a reference standpoint of what they could do now, because Philadelphia had a chance to run away. I mean, basically what we say about the Vikings, right? Which is win a game by 14 points. What are you doing? Philadelphia had a chance in prime time to do exactly that, and they didn't. So I think the only two teams, and this is why the Bills game has me excited to watch them against the Vikings. The Bills and Chiefs are the only two teams where I'm like, oh boy, that's going to be a long day potentially. Even Philadelphia, I'm not convinced of that yet.
Winning at Washington, people are just dismissing Washington. Washington's 500.
Yeah, you can't dismiss them.
They've been feisty.
Yep.
It is a road game.
Yes.
You should win the game. I don't expect it to be a blowout, but if you were to go into Washington and create some separation and just like win that game by 14 points or something, or 17 points, that'd be a really impressive win. So these next 2 games for different reasons, Buffalo being the measuring stick in the NFL, Washington just being a challenging road game where Kirk is going to feel some emotions, I'm sure, going back and playing for the team that drafted him and gave him a chance for multiple years as a starter. Mm-hmm. And there's so many different ways these games could go, right? I could see them stumbling against Washington. They've played all these close games. Like, what if a fumble goes the wrong way? They've had a lot of good fortune so far this year. What if they don't get a big turnover in the second half to turn field position and turn the game? Mm-hmm. And then obviously Buffalo, no one's really expecting them to win that game. So if you don't, you're 6-1, but if you're not careful here, if you lose this game to Washington and then you're likely to lose to Buffalo, 6-1 can be 6-3 very quickly, and then all of a sudden, people are recalibrating, including us, their top 10 NFL team rankings.
Absolutely. And so the one thing that I don't want to hear from the Vikings, because I don't think that they're good enough to do this, I don't want trap games. So like if you are looking past the commies, what are you doing? You're not good enough to.
Commies.
Like the Chiefs can have a trap game. Now they'll probably win it. The Bills, same thing, right? But I mean, the Vikings have not won any game convincingly enough or put together a complete game to be like, oh man, we were looking forward to Buffalo. Yeah. There is no team. You should beat a lot of teams left on your schedule. That being said, there is no team on that schedule that you should look past. Not this team.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. If the Vikings just play 500 football the rest of, they have, I guess, they played 7. So they have an even number of games left, right? They have 10 games left. So let's say they go 5-5. Mm-hmm. What's my math there? Yeah. So they would, if they played 500 football, they'd be 11-6. So that's another way to look at it. Can you just play 500 football the rest of the way and have your most successful regular season record in 5 seasons? But I think they should. I foresee some regression here in terms of wins and losses. But it feels like they're very much tracking for, like, I've got, in fact, we can transition into what are people saying about the Vikings here. Football Outsiders has them on 11.3 average wins, simulating the rest of the season, with an 88% chance to win the division. Seems a little low, actually, to be honest with you. And a 3.5% chance to win the Super Bowl. 538 likes them even more. They've got the Vikings with 12 average wins, 12-5, simulating the rest of the season. A 94% chance to win the division and a 7% chance to win the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Now, ESPN's Football Power Index, the FPI, hates the Vikings. They have them 14th, the 14th ranked team in the NFL, behind the 3-5 Saints, the 3-5 Browns, and the 3-5 Buccaneers, and the 3-5 Packers. They still like the 3-5 Packers better than the Vikings.
That's ridiculous.
It is. I don't know. I don't know what their
ridiculous.
formula is here, but
Where's Seifert?
Yeah.
I'm going to call
It's
Seifert.
rough.
Seifert's fault.
It doesn't give like an average number of wins here, I don't think. But
come on, really?
Oh, wait, here we go.
The Saints?
No, I'm sorry. It is projecting them with 11 wins. So then how are they the 14th best team? This is where FPI loses me. 14th?
Yeah, it's just wrong.
And I get that they're ranking based on like yardage stats and different things, but at some point, come on, guys. With a 95% chance to make the playoffs and a 7% chance to make the Super Bowl, but only a 2% chance to win it. So that's what some of the projection websites are saying about the Vikings.
Do we know how that stew is made at all, Phil?
Zero clue.
Okay, because I mean,
Zero clue.
I just don't get it. Like at some point in time, the thing that frustrates me about football analytics and statistics too is if you put too many of them in the stew, it confuses the stew. Because I mean, the Vikings previously have put up some great numbers.
How do you know?
Some great because there's some raw stats that don't work because it depends on when they come. As Royce said on Unchained, and he's right, and it was well put. He said, "You know what? The Vikings are good at winning time."
Yes, but and again, I don't know how the analytical stew is cooked. But what the analytical stew is saying is, and I think FPI is taking it too far here. They're taking it too far.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
What they're saying is the way that you are putting together your wins is not sustainable.
Right.
That you can't be getting outgained yards per play over the course of a full season and still be an 11 or 12 win team. Mm-hmm. So I think from that perspective, I get it. But you've already banked 6 wins, and so you deserve some credit for just winning games.
Well,
like you would deserve some credit at some point for the result of the game.
Yeah, and our eyes say that the Saints aren't as good. Our eyes say that the Packers aren't as good.
Yeah, and the analytics would say the Packers are more likely to bounce back big time than some other teams. But
yes, because they're not inside Aaron Rodgers' head. The analytics can't tell that the guy has gone off the deep end.
It's a dark place to be. People, by the way, have been asking for a few months about merchandise here, and boy, we have some good news for you.
Look at that.
Over at scorenorth.com/shop. That's SKORnorth.com/shop. We've got Before I Die hoodies and tees, Victory Monday hoodies and tees, Purple Daily hoodies and tees. We got some Score North hats.
So good.
We have a limited window here. We haven't decided how long we're going to keep the online shop open, but it will likely be a limited window. And so scorenorth.com/shop, and you can get your Purple Daily related swag. Go wear it to the stadium. Maybe it's an early Christmas gift for somebody or something. You want to spread the joy of Judd Zulgad.
Thanksgiving
to a
gift.
loved one.
Thanksgiving gift. Thanksgiving night.
Do people give Thanksgiving gifts?
You know they should now because you can wear it Thanksgiving night. Patriots
Maybe it's
in
an
town.
early Black Friday gift.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Don't wait till the 25th. Don't wait till December. Give it to your loved one now. Get it out there.
ScoreNorth.com/shop. Yes.
I'm excited about this. I love that stuff. It's really cool.
We also are excited about, speaking of swag, Chill Boys, the most comfortable underwear that we've really all agreed upon we've ever worn here. The long underwear comes in handy this time of year. They even have hooded sweatshirts and T-shirts. What's one word to describe how Chill Boys are making you guys feel today?
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Breathing, comfortable. So I'm just going to go with one word, awesome.
Yeah, thankful. I'm thankful for my Chill Boys because they're the most comfortable underwear on the planet. And it's very versatile. You know, that's another good word to use. It's versatile. They have the performance brand, they have the bamboo fabric. Very versatile brand of underwear. I love my Chill Boys.
I'm going to say cozy. 15% off on all products for first-time purchases using the promo code SCORE15, SKOR15, at chillboys.com, a Minnesota company. You can find them online. Also, our friends at Underdog are helping put smiles on faces a lot of these Sundays. People showing us their slips on Twitter all throughout the weekend.
I love when I get the slips here. I showed you Jocks here yesterday. I'll show it again. A little 4-item parlay for him. He took the over on Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. And you'll notice, too, they have fantasy points. They have fantasy points options there. So they'll set an over-under for fantasy points. They'll factor in the receiving yards or passing yards and touchdowns, etc. You can bet the higher or the lower there. They also have some mixed sports entries. So you can do a football bet. You can do an NHL bet. You can do an NBA slip. You can do plenty of options. And also, you got to watch out for payout boosters. So the other day, Nick Chubb had a payout booster on it. Nick Chubb had a pretty solid game yesterday for the Browns, right? So if you get that option, you can get a little extra money in your pick-em slip. So join with Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code SCORE, SKOR. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy, the best and easiest way to play fantasy sports.
Thank you to everyone who supports our partners here on Purple Daily and over on Mackey and Judd and all across Score North. Helps keep our lights on a daily basis here. All right, it's time now for Judd guesses the PFF grades.
All right.
From Sunday's victory over the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
So we're just going to go with starters here on offense because there's a couple small sample size quirks, I guess, that can throw this off. But
Yep.
we're going to start with offense. Who were the 3 best players for the Minnesota Vikings according to Pro Football Focus on Sunday?
Okay,
Offense.
so on Twitter the past 24 hours or so, I have seen a lot of film of this man, if not pancaking, throwing Cardinals linemen down. And no, it's not Ed Ingram. I am going to go with one of the top 3 players, if not the top, probably from what I saw, Christian Darrisaw.
Number 1. I believe he was the highest graded offensive lineman of the week in the NFL too.
And this is
legit.
incredible.
He's legit. He's one of the best offensive linemen in the league. They just snapped their fingers. Rick Spielman. Thank you, Rick. Just snapped his fingers and fixed left tackle for a decade. How about that?
I feel like he's tracking to be first team All-Pro, not Pro Bowl. Don't care about the Pro Bowl.
He's definitely
team.
a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, but I mean that's fine. Who cares? But there's 2 All-Pro teams. They are a huge deal. I feel like he's tracking to potentially be first team All-Pro at left tackle.
I don't know. That's I think you might be honest. He's definitely in the mix. Definitely in the mix.
All right. My next guess is going to be Justin Jefferson.
Number 3. Third best player.
And my final guess, because statistically he had a good game, and I don't think he did anything that would get him dinged in a big way, would be Dalvin Cook.
He was fourth. He had a very good game, but he was 4th. I'll give you 3 incorrect guesses.
I take it Dex has seen these.
Some of them. I thought Dalvin was
so you can't help
top
me.
5.
You can consult with Dex, but I know he looks at PFF scores. So
okay, and that's
part of the reason I'm leaving Dex out here.
Yeah, I mean, I've not looked at him yet. All right, so Dalvin was number 4.
I'll give you one hint. How about this? I'll give you one hint per. So we're going to go through the best and worst of offense and defense.
Yeah.
I'll give you one hint on each side of the ball. It's like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Okay. You can ask me for the hint whenever you want on both sides of the ball.
Okay. I get 3 wrong guesses, right? So
yep.
I'm at strike 1. Boy, could it be? Okay, I'll take the hint.
Okay. And I guess it doesn't make sense for us to do worst because, like, I'll give you the worst at the end of it. You're just going to guess the best.
Okay.
An under-the-radar player, largely.
Under-the-radar player. All right, I'm going to go back to offensive line then. I'm going to say Ezra Cleveland.
There it is. Dude, don't sleep on Ezra Cleveland.
I told you
that guy's having a good season.
It took him time, but he was a good player and a left tackle in college. Yes, I think the left side of that line is very solidified, which is huge. We never talk about those guys, man.
And that's good, right?
I know it is, but I mean that's the positive. If Christian Darrisaw was a skilled position player, we wouldn't shut up about him.
So Ezra Cleveland, first off, he's having the best season of his career according to Pro Football Focus. This is his 3rd year in the NFL.
Yep.
He has only taken 1 penalty so far this year. We're almost halfway through the season. And he's only allowed 16 pressures, so he's only allowing like 2 pressures a game, which is very good. He's much better as a run blocker than a pass blocker, but he is one of the highest graded run blockers at guard in the NFL. So he's just kind of a road grader. He's got he's got the long offensive tackle frame. He's like 6'5", 6'6". He's got long arms. Sometimes you get the alligator arms guards in there.
You know what he's built like a bit, I think? Our guy Booney.
He is, yes.
Who played guard but was built like a tackle.
So you get out in space on that second level, right? And you just have these 6'6" arms.
Yeah, because
just separation.
Love it.
Keeping defenders at arm's length.
Love
so, yes, Christian Darrisaw, Ezra Cleveland, Justin Jefferson were the 3 highest graded players this week for the Vikings. The 3 lowest graded players, by far, Ed Ingram was the worst graded player.
Shocking.
So the grade matched the eye test. KJ Osborne was second. And then despite him scoring a touchdown, Johnny Munt was given no love. Johnny Munt, I guess, struggled he took a penalty and he struggled in run blocking. So
son of a... I'm so mad right now.
But he did score a touchdown, so that was good. But I think, the touchdown, it wasn't like him doing something miraculous. Right. It was a very well-schemed play that just left him wide open, and that's part of the reason why he didn't get as much love.
They need help there, too. With Irv now out potentially, for weeks with a high ankle sprain, tight end is really depleted.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to give you the defense here now.
All right, 3 best.
We're looking for the 3 best Vikings defensive players again. I'm gonna take guys out who'd played 20 snaps or fewer.
Sure.
Patrick Jones II played 15. He was actually the 3rd highest graded player, but we're gonna take the small sample size, take the noise out of this.
Although I do like him a lot. I do like Patrick Jones a lot. All right, I'm gonna give you rapid fire 3 names. So, and I think 2 of them are gonna be right for sure. The 3rd one might be strike 1. Okay. Za'Darius Smith, Patrick Peterson, Eric Kendricks.
You got the first 2 correct. Za'Darius Smith was number 1. Patrick Peterson was number 2. Okay. Eric Kendricks was more middle of the pack.
I flashed he played well. I felt
like he flashed a lot.
He flashed.
Yeah.
But I love when players flash.
But
I will give you a hint if you want it on the defensive side of the ball.
I'll take the hint,
but you have 2 more. Okay, you want the hint?
Just give me the hint right now. Cut to the chase.
How can I give you a hint without giving it away? Because it's hard. There's only a limited amount of players left. I would say this is without doing a lot of digging, I feel like this is probably one of the best games this player has played all season.
Harrison Smith.
He's mid-pack. Actually, no, he was.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Low.
He was the worst graded Viking starter in that game.
Oh my God! Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious! Okay.
He struggled in coverage.
All right.
They said he was targeted 3 times, 3 catches, 15 yards a catch.
All right.
Some yak.
0-2 count.
And he allowed a touchdown.
0-2 count.
0-2 count. I'm at the plate. What are you going to throw? Because, I mean, it's baseball now. You might come in with a breaking ball. I don't know.
I throw fastballs.
I would give a hint that this guy jumped in the top 5. He I don't believe was a top 5 graded player for the majority of games this season.
Well, we're just going to give a second hint now, huh? We're just going to give. You want a third hint, Judd? How many hints do you need here?
4th.
Hold on.
5th.
I'm thinking. Just be quiet.
6th.
Oh, I've got 2 names in mind. I got 2 names in mind, but this guy made a great play. So just off the record, I'm going back
off the record.
I'm going back and forth between 2 veterans here.
Okay.
I'm going to guess. Oh boy, this is probably wrong. Jordan Hicks.
Yeah. There it is. Jordan Hicks.
I was curious if Harrison Phillips had a really good game.
He was 4th. He was 4th. So it was between those 2 guys.
Okay, so Jordan Hicks.
The 3 lowest graded Vikings defensive players, and nobody was a train wreck on defense. Even like Harrison Smith was still a 54.3 grade, so it's not a train wreck. And then Cam Dantzler and Daniil Hunter were also among the 3 worst graded Vikings defensive players.
That's because Cam, God bless him, and I think he's a fine player, but he was on DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Do you know what's a ticket to be in the bottom 3 PFF? DeAndre Hopkins lining up across from me.
That's a question I have, for instance, about PFF. Maybe our friend Eric Eager, who he left there a few weeks ago.
Tell us all the secrets
VP
now.
of research for years. So is it graded like in a vacuum? So all right, if I'm Cam Dantzler and I'm lined up on DeAndre Hopkins for 3 hours, but then I'm Cam Dantzler the next week and I'm lined up against Christian Watkins or something.
Yes.
If maybe I might play better against DeAndre Hopkins, but the results are still going to be poor because he's DeAndre Hopkins, right?
And DeAndre Hopkins' touchdown catch against Smith in this case was sick.
That was great coverage. And they did, so he was credited or debited a touchdown because he was the defender on that play, right?
Smith was, yes.
But as Mark Schlereth pointed out, they showed that replay 3 times on the broadcast. What are you supposed to do? He's literally in his face, arms up. I guess you're supposed to turn around. But
Did you see the size of that hand?
I know. He's
The
got
other
mitts,
one,
man.
so here's the interesting thing about the secret sauce on the Hicks ranking too. And this is very smart, but I wonder how this trickles down. In the cases where they were concerned about Kyler Murray and wanted to spy him, Asamoah replaced Hicks.
Yeah.
So that's going to help Hicks because he's now not susceptible to what the Cardinals might have done against him specifically in cases where they were concerned about Kyler taking off.
So Brian Asamoah wound up with 3 total defensive snaps in this game, and all 3 were in spy situations, I would guess.
Yes, they were.
Let's see. Sometimes the snap counts can be interesting. Ross Blacklock had 1 really key pressure, but was the lowest graded non-starter. Mm-hmm. He's the one they traded for right before the season started.
Yep.
And then, Patrick Jones had 15 snaps coming in. That's something to keep an eye on. Now, Zadarius Smith came out for like 15 plays because he had maybe even more than that. He had the knee problem.
Right.
He had, and hopefully it's just but that might be something if it's a bone bruise that lingers. But Patrick Jones, I feel like deserves some playing time. Do you think they'll think about putting Danielle Hunter's hand back in the dirt here? Let's say Dalvin Tomlinson has to miss some time because of injury.
He's lined up with his hand on the ground at times still too. I would love to see a really good, credible deep dive on what's going on there. I feel like, because I tried to watch him with the field glasses, second half, right? I got him out, 99. I'm going to focus on him. Yeah. And he is doubled at times. He is drawing attention that I think, to what we talked about yesterday, is benefiting Smith for sure. But I would love to know how much, if there's like a problem, if there's a lost step. Because I don't feel, it's not like he is maintaining the position of an outside linebacker consistently. It does feel like Zadarius, and again, this is from my observations with my eyes, so it feels like Zadarius is being given more opportunities to line up in different places.
Yeah.
Danielle, it feels like, is either at right end a lot or left end. Zadarius, meanwhile, at times is standing up through the A gap. And so he's coming against the guard or center, which makes his life simpler. So anyway, I just think that there's more work here than just a simple Danielle Hunter has fallen off the shelf. Or table.
And you know what? I mean, ultimately, if
whatever.
It is working more the last few weeks for the team. The team is getting pressures, and they're kind of climbing up the pressure rankings. And I don't know, but it would be nice to see Danielle Hunter unlocked as something more than just a decoy, or maybe he's lost a step. I don't know. But overall, collectively, I think the pass rush has gotten better the last few weeks. So there you go. That's Judd guesses the PFF grades for Vikings players.
I'm pretty proud of myself right now.
Yeah. You met a listener yesterday who's lost a bunch of weight through the Livia program too. It's so cool to hear people.
It's a great story.
Buying in, losing weight, changing their lives.
So Brent from Spokane came into town, huge Vikes fan, and yes, I met with him. He has dropped 60 pounds, and he's still going, which is incredible. 60 pounds down. He heard about the program, of course, through PD. He flew in specifically for the game and then to go meet with the folks to talk about his goals and weight loss, wearing a very cool throwback Rashad jersey, which now fits fantastically. Why? Because this program works. And right now, if you sign up, you'll receive 8 weeks for free. That's right, 8 weeks for free. Enjoy the foods that you love with the new Flex program that includes fruit, pasta, and bread. 855-GO-LIVEA, Livia.com, Livia, Livea.com. In town here, go see them. If you're, I don't know, a Vikings fan in Florida, California, then guess what? Virtual consultations are possible. It all starts just like it did for Brent, though, by going to Livia.com and unlocking the key to dropping those unwanted pounds.
what must it be like if Christian Darrisaw is protecting you on a regular basis? Well, that's kind of like what it's like having Federated Mutual Insurance Company as a guiding hand for your business. Over 100 years of risk management, tools and resources built up, a knowledge base that goes back, like I said, over a century. And if you're wondering how you can get your business to the next level, maximize the success of your business, Federated is here to offer that guiding hand to you. Find out more about the work they do with businesses at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. Okay, that is a wrap on this Tuesday episode of Purple Daily. We know that it's trade deadline day, too, so if the Vikings do something, we will definitely pop back on again. If they don't do anything, we'll probably talk about why they didn't do anything on the Wednesday Write That Down episode of Purple Daily. And Judd is ranking over on Mackey and Judd today the best free agent signings in Vikings history.
Highly controversial.
Curious to see what that list looks like.
It's going to be, we will laugh, we will cry, we will scream obscenities. It's highly controversial.
Where does Zadarius Smith rank on that list? We will find out. And again, scorenorth.com/shop, scorenorth.com/shop if you want some Purple Daily related swag. Thank you guys. See you tomorrow.